Have you ever felt disconnected from your child or your children? Have you ever felt like you're trying to do things for them, but it's not clicking, they're not getting it, or that it's just not yielding the results that you're hoping for? Today, we're going to talk about the book, 5 Love Languages of Children, and see if there's any way that we can use this book to deepen our connection with our children. So stay tuned. In this really great book, Gary Chapman claims that you will discover your child's love language, you'll understand the link between successful learning and the love languages, see how love languages can help you discipline more effectively, and build a foundation of unconditional love for your child. So I love this book, and I think it's given me great insight into how my girls operate. What are their particular needs, and how are they different from each other? How can I effectively plan to communicate with them better, which leads to, a more harmonious household. So I'm very much a fan of this book. So if you're not familiar with the 5 love languages, there's also a adult one. So grab that one too, because it's got great advice that I wish I would have known a long time ago for relationships. But for and so the love languages are really the same no matter what age you are. But his point of view is that we all have a love language. So each and every one of us has one of the 5 love languages. And if we don't recognize it, then it's going to be hard to communicate that with our partner. And if our partner doesn't recognize it, then it's going to be a little bit more challenging than it actually has to be. So in terms of our children, I'll just go over the 5 love languages with you. So the first one is physical touch. So as we're going through these, see if you can think about each of your children. Some children have their love languages are very they're very obvious. And so I know for my girls are we're very straightforward to find out. My oldest is quality time and my youngest is physical touch. And to me, they were very obvious. You may need to observe your children with this in mind a little bit more to really identify what they are. If they're older, then you can definitely get them to take the adult test, and that may help really identify it if you're not sure what they are. So the first love language is physical touch. So thinking about if your child is that person, how can we be more intentional about actually planning that kind of interaction with our children? So more hugs, hand holding. It can even be roughhousing or playing with them on the floor. It can be just close with them, reading with them on our laps. It can be just cheek to cheek or holding hands, and actually making a point to not necessarily like schedule it into your day, but just being mindful of putting that into our day so that we don't forget. Because if our child is no matter what love language our child is, if we're not communicating to them in this particular way, they might not feel as loved as they want to or should. The second one is words of affirmation. So this is making a conscious decision to say things to your child that really will work to uplift their spirits. So and maybe you have a list if you need a list. So it's things like praise. It's things like encouragement, telling them a lot of I love yous. You're playing with this in this way. You're doing a great job doing this, being specific about our praise so that it's not just general statements like great job, which doesn't really mean a whole lot to them, but getting specific about observing what they're doing and then using our words in a positive way to give them love in that particular way. Number 3 is quality time. My oldest, I know when she starts to melt down, most times I can think back and be like, okay, what are we doing? What are we not doing? And chances are, if she's in a meltdown stage, it is because she has not had mom or dad time. And we're teaching her how to communicate this effectively with us. So we're saying to her, do you need mommy or daddy time? Is this why you're feeling upset? Is because you haven't had mom time? So she has come to us very often and said, I need mom time or I need dad time. And I'm just so happy that we've had this conversation as a family to make her aware of when she needs to have that particular time so she starts feeling filled up. So quality time is just making sure that we are spending undistracted time with our children. And it doesn't have to be a whole day. It could be, a standard 15 minutes. It could be going and taking that child for one-on-one time, especially if there are other siblings in the house. I know my oldest gets really irritated by her younger sister, and that's when we kind of need to pull her out and take her and just do things one-on-one. It also gives us as parents the opportunity to see our children in their own unique light. When they're with siblings, when they're with other family members, they tend to act differently. And yes, those are valuable life lessons as well. But when we take the one-on-one time, all of a sudden we see our child in their true light. We see them for who they really are, and it can really soften any kind of negative energy or emotions attached to that child that just sometimes naturally come up. The next one, number 4, is gifts. And does your child really love when they get something? So maybe you're gonna write your child a note. It doesn't have to cost anything, but you're giving your child, writing them a note. You're making them maybe their special supper or their favorite breakfast in the morning, and you're just, and I actually love using sticky notes. So we'll put them around the house, maybe in the morning or when they get home from school, just so that they see that you're giving them something. And it doesn't have to cost anything. Number 5 is acts of service. So doing something for your child. So maybe it is getting down with them on the floor and actually helping them build their blocks, which actually doubles as quality time. So the acts of service is helping them with something, or doing, mostly helping them with something. So maybe they are needing help getting dressed, and you're helping them do that in a loving way, or you're helping them build like a clay model, or you're sitting down with them and helping them in some way. So as we go through the 5 love languages, it's kind of like if I'm words of affirmation. I'm not quality time, and this can really cause a rift between my oldest because I actually don't need quality time, which is kind of weird, but I'm a words of affirmation. So I respond well to nice words. So I'm very good at giving kind words. So I'm really good at telling her great things about her, giving her lots of affirmations. But that's not, like, we're not on the same wavelength, because here I am trying to give giving her words of affirmation when she needs quality time, and they're not coming together. So I have to consciously, in my mind, dedicate time to give to her for quality time. Now, he says in the book that you may not always want to do these things, but the investment is going to come back to you in huge ways. Like, the payoff is so valuable and beneficial. So work within work within your schedule, work within what makes you happy and your children happy, and make sure that you're consciously trying to schedule this into your day and into your week, so you can feel a deeper connection with your children. Now, your child may not be one strict love language. There could be some overlap. They do say that there's a dominant one and then like a secondary one, but they can all be, your child needs all of them, so you're spending time building something with them, which is quality time, but it also checks off a list of words of affirmation, because maybe you're encouraging them with your words, but then also maybe you're, have your hand on their back, or hold their hand, or just give them a loving nudge once in a while. That also serves as physical touch. So while each person has like a primary and a secondary love language, working all of the love languages into your day can be highly beneficial to making your child feel like they're loved from all sides. I know that this has helped me, especially with my oldest, because we tend to butt heads a lot. And so I know, and trust me, like, it sounds strange and I feel bad for saying it, but I don't need to spend a lot of time with anybody. Sounds weird, but that's because I'm not a quality time person. Because I have identified that myself, I have begun to work on being very aware of running away from situations because I don't need quality time. So I stop, I'm aware that I'm trying to run away because I don't need the quality time. And I stop myself enough to say, this quality time is super important for our relationship as a mother and daughter. And so I often use the timer, just because it helps us. So I'll set the timer for half an hour and say, okay, at the end of this, mommy does, I do have to go make supper, or I do have to do whatever, unload the dishwasher or whatever. But that block of time is so valued by the person or the child who needs quality time. So see if you can introduce and try all of these things. If there are things that feel awkward to you, that's probably because they're not your primary love language. But see if you can do it as an act of love for that person in your life that you dearly want to love in an unconditional way. So I would love to hear, what's your affirmation, or what's your love language, and what do you think your children's love languages are? Thanks so much for watching. I really hope this helps connect with your child on a deeper level and connect with yourself. Thanks, everybody.